Hello students, welcome back for the course of MBA Semester 4 International HRM. Today is our lecture number 10, 11 and 12, and the topic of our today's discussion is cultural sensitivity and half-hosted cultural dimension theory. So this theory is called as the cross-cultural theory and we are going to discuss it today. So the primary objective of our today's function is help to understand the concept of cultural sensitivity as well as cross culture and half-hosted cultural dimension theory. So this is the first theory that we are going to discuss in the today's session. So the contents of our today's session are cultural sensitivity, impact of culture, cross culture, cross cultural theories. The first theory that we are going to discuss it today and it is called as grit half-hosted cultural dimension theory. So let us start the discussion one by one. The first topic of our today's discussion is cultural sensitivity. As we came to know, across the various societies, these socio-cultural values changes from society to society and also from nations to nations. Cultural society is a kind of cultural sensitivity, okay, is a kind of concept where we are talking about understanding of cultural differences among the societies. These differences occur due to in what way the individual societies moves ahead in their social strata and they were change their socio-cultural values, norms, social customs, traditions, due to which there will be some sort of misunderstanding among the communities or the societies, those who are being belonging to different nations. Cultural sensitivity is nothing but avoiding the misunderstanding by means of understanding the cultural differences of the society. So whatever form of concepts, ideas or abstract things that goes in these societies, so once we try to relocate the things very appropriately and understanding the phenomena with respect to whatever form of societies that exist on this earth and removing the misunderstanding or avoiding some sort of misunderstanding by means of coming closer to everybody's cultural socio-cultural values, okay, and try to understand, okay, why these differences exist in these host countries, okay, that concept will be called as cultural sensitivity. So when we are talking about this cultural sensitivity, people must try to understand what kind of culture that exists in a particular society or any other host countries. So they must be sensitive to everybody's socio-cultural values, okay, within the country itself as well as the host country. So one must be sensitive to the culture of the host country, okay, whenever we are talking about this international HRM. In case of international HRM, number of expatriates, those who are belonging to different countries, okay, they are going for the purpose on the international assignments, okay. So it is quite necessary that one must be sensitive to understand anybody's culture over there, those who are coming from the outside, and try to listen to them, okay. Or we need to provide some sort of forum by means of that the exchange of socio-cultural values, norms, and communication could take place among the organizational members. Along with that, when we are talking about this cultural sensitivity, here we must have some sort of empathy towards the cultural differences. Whenever we will have an empathy towards these cultural differences, then and then only, okay, the we can allow that particular person to communicate their ideas, okay, and exchange that ideas into the forum. So by cultural sensitivity we mean that we must have some sort of empathy to accept the socio-cultural differences without allowing one's own values to surface in unproductive or confrontable ways. So whichever form of expatriates, those who are working nationally or internationally across many of the nations, so we need to provide some sort of environment so that people could exchange their socio-cultural values, okay, so that they will come and acquaint with each other, and the communication would take place. When we are talking about this cultural sensitivity here, the individual have to understand the cultural differences, why that cultural differences exist in these societies, because these people are belonging to different countries, different societies, they would have different sort of experience in their socio-cultural life. Here in case of that cultural sensitivity, we need to follow these cultural differences rather than openly judgmental to the culture of the land, rather than talking about, okay, anybody's socio-cultural values in an indifferent way, okay, wherever the individual expatriates would face some sort of difficulties over there. So by means of cultural sensitivity, okay, we came to know that, okay, there are different socio-cultural differences that exist among the societies as well as the nations, okay. We just have to show some sort of empathy towards these international expatriate, those who are working in the field of international HRM, okay, and try to allow them to speak and share their own individual values, okay, rather than making any judgmental comment on anybody's else. So in this way we are going to promote the involvement of expatriate people, okay, or any international assignees, so that they can share their thoughts, values, as well as some sort of ideas, okay, that should be that may be favorable in the development of the organization. Cultural sensitivity is being aware that cultural differences and similarities between people exist without assigning them a value, positive or negative, better or worse, or right or wrong. When we are talking about these cultural differences and why does it exist, rather than making a direct comment on anybody's socio-cultural values or anybody's personality, okay, so that creates some sort of problem among the expatriates specifically, okay, and we could not retain them in the organizations. So So such kind of cultural differences or similarity, whatever it will exist in the society, okay, without assigning any direct value to it, okay. Say for example, okay, suppose in a positive or negative way, okay, better or worse or right or wrong. So whoever the person, those who are belonging to any kind of culture and working internationally within any organization, we need to promote their ideas, goods, okay, or whatever good ideas specifically they will communicate, and we need to appreciate those things, okay, which could be in favorable of the organizational development. Why cultural sensitivity is gaining more and more importance nowadays, specifically, wherever in societies we came to know there are different cultural, uh, socio-cultural values, or people those who are being multilinguistics or multiculturalism that exist in these societies. So what kind of situations, what kind of the forum that we are providing to this expatriate. So that's why it is quite necessary to understand the concept of this cultural sensitivity, and that will primarily provide them the some sort of forum to exchange their ideas. So it allows us to effectively function with the other cultures specifically by means of coming closer to any sort of expatriate, okay, that expatriate share their values, norms, social customs, traditions, and other sort of communication related aspects. So that shows some sort of respect and other form of values towards the other culture. So here nobody tries to overcome the uh, anybody's culture over there, okay, and could not says it should be superior, okay, or they are inferior in this sense, and that reduce the socio-cultural barriers specifically in between the professionals and the expatriates, and we are reducing this gap, and that helps in organizational communication specifically uh, with the expatriates whenever we tries to communicate with them. So in certain circumstances, sometimes we wherever we do find out that there is a huge individualism will be there wherever we are tries to achieve the individual goals. That time how does people are behaving in a particular fashion, and they do not tries to understand anybody's socio-cultural values and giving importance to themselves. So they are somewhat said to be a self-centered persons over here, okay, and that could not be more feasible to the organization specifically whenever we are dealing with the expatriates. So here we do require more collectivism over here, so that organizational goals can be more important, and therefore exchanging the socio-cultural values across any sort of culture, okay, or any sort of people those who are belonging to different culture, okay, and this should be gaining importance specifically in the international world. Then cultural sensitivity and global businesses across the world, okay, we do find out that there are mainly 5 6 cultures, okay, that has been followed due to their religions, okay. So religious system can be one of the more supreme system across many societies, okay, whichever they will follow, okay, and in this different nation there will be some sort of multiculturalism issues will be there. In this globalized economy, cultural sensitivity is very much essential. One should have to respect the socio-cultural values of these people, those who are belonging to different cultures specifically. And that could be the requirement of the today's businesses, wherever national international firms, okay, they are occupying the space internationally, and they tries to felt their presence to the outside world, wherever they will think the whole world will be the unique marketplace for themselves. This means that it is crucial and more than ever for businesses to understand the culture of the foreign marketing if they wish to succeed internationally. So here we do need to think about the socio-cultural values and give some sort of respect specifically while we are conducting some sort of activities with respect to international marketing and international trade. So already we discussed that many nations, they are going to reflect their businesses to the outside world, and they would think that the whole world will be a unique marketplace for themselves. So many national and international firms, okay, they are conducting the business in more than, okay, 200 nations across the world. So it is quite important that each and every individual member of the organization, they do respect these socio-cultural differences of any sort of communities those are belonging to their organizations. So here one must tries to understand and knowing about the different culture and accepting the differences and similarities, that will help people to communicate more effectively and build the meaningful relationship, especially among the expatriates. So when any organizations that they are primarily dealing with expatriates, okay, so it is quite necessary to understand their culture, okay, as they belong to that different culture, and try to know what are the differences and similarities, okay, differences in their own culture and what are the similarities in the home culture specifically. So they do try to identify the space and tries to communicate with these expatriates, okay, so that we can improve some sort of communications very effectively by means of mutual understanding, and that will helping to improve the mutual relationship among these expatriates, so that these expatriates, they will contribute very effectively towards the organizational growth and development. Many international organizations, okay, they are having very clear cut objectives, okay, whenever they are they are uh, working internationally, okay. So across these many companies, okay, there are large multinational corporations, transnational corporations, okay, they do have very clear policies, okay, from their headquarters as well as regional country headquarters. So by means of that, they are communicating so to all the HR persons specifically, that they should have, they must respect anybody's culture, those who are belonging to the different countries, and that will be helpful to uh, generate the businesses, okay, across the world, and companies can enhance their business operations, okay, throughout the world very appropriately, okay. And this is the most successful strategy of many of the organizations, and that's why in international trade, okay, or global business that we are talking, okay, respecting anybody's culture, those who are belonging to different socio-cultural background, is the key component of doing business internationally. Then we are talking about the impact of culture. The socio-cultural values, traditions, customs, means the social customs which would have very larger impact, okay, or very powerful influence on our social systems in which that we will live. So wherever these societies comes together, either particularly for their own livelihood, suppose say, okay, but livelihood is not only an issue. Many organizations they are focusing on exchanging the socio-cultural norms across this society. So by means of that, we tries to come closer and closer to other people, and whenever we will involve with them, okay, wherever we exchange these socio-cultural norms, values, traditions, social customs of the people, and we tries to study the behavior of these masses, specifically the people those who are belonging to other socio-cultural values of these different nations. So it will have very powerful and positive influence on the organizations, and in the in that particular nations to have some positive impact on the uh, societies, specifically the consumer class, okay. So that's why it is quite need to understand the social values, attitude and behavior of the people those are belonging to these different countries. Some other things which are being also responsible, wherever that we do came to know that some sort of preferences for policies procedure in the field of international HRM, that would again have some impact on the people those who are belonging to these different companies, okay. And wherever they do communicate in a particular fashion and try to interact with the people those are belonging to the organizations. So we need to have a very clear cut policies over here, okay, and that could have some positive impact on the other societies. Specifically, the major impact would be identified in case of HRM practices, wherever we are following some recruitment planning selection, okay, retention of the employees, okay, allocation on the jobs, as well as training and development, even in case of compensation also, or some other aspects of HR. So a lot of things are being associated with the international culture, okay, and we do need to identify these socio-cultural differences across the various types of culture exist on this earth, and that will have some positive impact on the societies. So somewhere else, where we do came to know about that hypostate socio-cultural dimension theories, then we came to know about what will be the different types of impact that could exist on the societies, so as to get the so as to achieve the appropriate goals of the organizations, that we will see in the forthcoming slide. Then the next topic is cross culture, okay. So whenever the societies those who are belonging to that different culture, okay, they are having different socio-cultural values, norms, social customs, traditions, and their attitude, okay, their behavior would change, okay, across these societies of various nations. This cross cultural is the kind of concept where we do try to recognize the differences among the business people of different nations, background, and ethnicities, and the importance of bridging them. People those are belonging to these different countries, okay, as they will differ in these socio cultural norms, okay. Here we are talking about the cross cultural management, and wherever we do try to promote this cross cultural management, okay, or by means of removing the differences among the business people, specifically as we are dealing with the businesses, or in general we are talking about, okay, removing the uh, differences or barriers in the form of communication, specifically people those who are belonging internationally in different nations, different background and different ethnicities. Means it will be called as different social groups, and that helps to bridging the relationship between these people whenever we tries to involve this in this cross cultural environment. By means of cross culture, okay, wherever people belonging to the different socio culture environment, they do exchange their thought processes and communicate, being by being the part of the society, and extend their socio cultural norms, as well as they will share their experiences by means of communication. With the globalization, this cross-cultural education has gaining importance to the across the world, and e-learning, due to e-learning, okay, we do came to know the different types of socio-cultural values and proliferation of media that tries to remove the barriers in this cross-cultural communication specifically. Organizations are also focusing on improving the cross-cultural environment, okay, and wherever many of the countries and as well as international companies are focusing on some sort of national, international organizational strategies. Okay, they do structure their organization in such a way wherever we will find out multiculturalism environment. Okay, by means of using different sort of culture, power and politics in the organizations. So people those who are belonging to different societies, groups or nations, okay, where do they come together and exchange their socio cultural norms, values, customs, traditions. So we try to learn about the people, okay, and what exactly would be their attitude and behavior, okay, towards some particular phenomena, and that removes the gap in the process of the communication, specifically international communication related activities, wherever we do try to negotiate the terms and conditions of employment, okay, specifically that deals with international HRM. Whenever we are talking about this cross cultural environment, okay, we are talking mostly about cross cultural management. That cross cultural management will describe the organizational behavior within the countries and the culture. Here many national international countries, okay, they do have focus on mm, a very global business environment, okay, they would have very global objectives to make their survival easier, and that's why it is quite necessary to understand as well as to describe the overall organizational behavior, okay, with the other member countries, okay, or people those who are belonging to different cultures. So that cross cultural management, okay, they will describe as well as compare the organizational behavior across these different countries and culture also. So both describing and comparing the socio-cultural values across the different nations of this society, okay, that will be the part of that socio-cultural management. Here also that we are thinking on understanding how to improve the interaction with any co-workers, managers, executives, clients, suppliers or any sort of partners around the world, wherever we can work them globally, and we try to felt our presence, okay, in this global world. So every organizations are trying to understand the socio-cultural environment by means of understanding the cross-cultural management. They are primarily tries to generate the knowledge base specifically with this expatriate. Okay, expatriate those are belonging to these different countries, okay, and they will be differ in terms of their belief, means the value system or religion, okay, as well as in attitude. So organizations are focusing on generation of the knowledge base, so that by means of that organizations are learning, okay, various things from these international expatriates, and they do tries to upgrade themselves in such a way, okay, by means of learning the socio-cultural values, and so that they will improve their behavior and felt their presence to the outside world. So many companies, okay, say for example Google, Microsoft, Sony, Toyota, they are largely concentrating on improving the overall organizational behavior, so that they would come closer to the larger group of customers, those are belonging to the various countries, as well as they can feel their presence to the many countries. That's why cross-cultural management would be very essential phenomena in international HRM. When we are talking about cross-culture, what exactly that people, those are belonging or conducting the activities so as to understand the cross-culture. So what exactly they are doing? They are doing the cross-cultural analysis, describing and comparing the socio-cultural values in different countries, specifically, okay, uh, specifically for the purpose of to improve the overall organizational behavior and as well as the performance of the organization, because these organizations by means of their employees, they are serving the many nations, many societies, as well as larger group of customers, those are belonging to different countries. So they are primarily conducting that socio-cultural analysis of the different countries, and that is called as cross-cultural analysis. This cross-cultural analysis has been conducted primarily for the purpose to identify the organizational requirement in terms of employees' behavior, employees' values, norms, attitude, aptitude, belief that contribute to the organizational strategy. Here organizations tries to upgrade themselves by means of learning all these things together. So they do try to came to know about employees behavior, okay, employees values, norms, attitude, and their aptitude level, as well as what sort of belief has been supposed to be there, okay, so that people are believing in that particular societies, and they could develop their own organizational strategies, not only for their national importance, okay, particularly promote the domestic businesses, but also they are trying to build their presence to the outside world and reflecting themselves by means of using good organizational performance across many of the businesses. This cross-cultural analysis would also helpful to identify the required training instrument to impart the required skills, so as to understand the required organizational culture and change or modify one's own culture in accordance with the organizational culture and strategic requirement. This is a very strategic move of all the organizations, those who are conducting the international business. So all these companies are the multinational companies, multinational enterprises, okay, or transnational corporations. So these corporations, these companies, okay, they are having a very clear focus, so that they would try to upgrade themselves by means of coming closer to these different societies and learning their socio-cultural values, okay, so that they can make some modification in their existing policies, specifically the HR policies that deals with working with the expatriate, and whenever they do recruit, okay, these expatriate, okay, there will not be any sort of difficulties over there, So this is a very good form of strategic move, okay, from that respective organizations, and that helps to building the relationship across the nations. Along with that, organizational analysis, okay, all these companies are also conducting the organizational analysis also along with the cross cultural analysis. It includes the understanding, respecting, and considering other culture in practicing the one's own culture. So wherever these companies are existing, okay, they are studying their own socio-cultural values and matching themselves nationally and internationally by means of understanding the socio-cultural values of the other nations, so that okay they can conduct the these international businesses, okay, or global businesses across the world. So in this way, that cross cultural analysis would be very very essential for any of the foreign multinational corporations. So here in case of cross cultural management, okay, that comes from the cross cultural studies. So in case of cross cultural studies, okay, we do conduct various forms of analysis of the people, those who are belonging to these different countries and different societies, and tries to understand them, okay, and tries to come closer and closer to them by means of understanding the socio-cultural values of these different nations. So we are here using the term that is called as cross cultural studies. These cross cultural studies, okay, that can be a comparative study, okay, essentially a comparative tendency in various fields of cultural analysis. So it is a comparative study of the different nations, okay, and their people, those who are living in these different nations, okay, whichever culture that they will belong. So this cross cultural analysis will be conducted on comparative basis, and these organizations are find themselves some particular space, okay, wherever they tries to establish some sort of communication with the people, those who are belonging to other nations. Some sort of another activities that they are conducting with the help of cross cultural communication or interculturalism, okay. Here organizations are trying to improve their interactivity, okay, among the members of the different socio-cultural groups and nations, and that can be happen with the help of cross-cultural communication. So it is the communication in between, okay, the people or organizations, those who are belonging to the different societies of different nations. So here we are trying to study with the help of cross cultural communication and interculturalism. Some other form of aspects of that cross culture would be multiculturalism and cultural diversity. Recently we seen about cultural sensitivity. Here culture, there are many countries that we will see the diversity in socio cultural values of that particular nation. So even whatever culture exists within the nation, there will be other different subcultures uh, and other related values that exist in these societies and nations. So again, it is a kind of discourse or discussion. Cross cultural studies are the form of discourse or discussion with respect to understanding the cultural interactivity, and which should be also called as cross culturalism, which will include multiculturalism and cultural diversity. So cross cultural studies somewhere some sort of more difficult studies, but we can analyze the what form of business environment that exists among the societies of these different nations. So that will be called as cross cultural management or cross cultural studies. And in case of that international HRM, okay, this should be a very essential form of studies wherever many international firms, those are dealing with IHRM related activities, they do try to came to know about what form of practices would be more and more appropriate. Okay, so they do think very strategically and focusing their objectives, focusing their activities, so that they can conduct this business very appropriately by means of using this cross culturalism. Now, this is called as cross cultural theories. There are different cross cultural theories, and it is quite necessary to understand these theories once we are dealing with this cross cultural management or cross cultural communication. Today that we are going to discuss about the first theory, and this is called as Grit Happosted cultural dimension theory. The other kind of cross cultural theories are Kluckhohn Studeback cultural creation theory. Third one is called as Hall's cultural context theory. Fourth one is Andre Laurent's cultural theory. Fifth one is Lawrence cross cultural theory. And sixth one is Tom Pruner's consultant cultural theory. All these theories that they will provide some particular directions, or some sort of dimensions wherever the cross cultural management that will exist in these societies, and how does the people, those who are belonging to different societies of their nations, okay, how does that they will behave with each other and would communicate in a particular fashion so as to achieve their own individual as organizational goals. So these theories are having their own importance in some specific areas or even in countries also. But one of the very important theory that is called as Grit Happosted cultural dimension theory, which would have more importance in the cross cultural management, as this theory would provide a very sufficient and concrete proof. Okay, many of the people that those who are believing, those who are working in anthropology, sociology, or the field of even the international HRM, they do believe that culture could not be measurable. Okay, so by means of using this Grit Happosted, we came to know culture can be measured by means of using some particular directions, or we will call them as the dimensions specifically. So all these different researchers and authors, those are very highly internationally recognized researchers. So they were recommended some particular dimensions, okay, that would exist in the different societies across the many of the nations, where do we do follow all these dimensions nationally and internationally, and tries to communicate with other any sort of international person in a particular fashion to achieve the to improve the organizational behavior as well as their performance. Now this is called as the first theory, Grit Happosted cultural dimension theory. So this is the spelling HOFSTEDE. Okay, so this is called as the Happosted. This is the first theory of cross cultural management specifically, wherever Happosted has suggests some particular dimensions, okay, that would exist in the different culture. So Happosted has developed a model, okay, that identifies mainly five important dimensions. He has suggested five dimensions of culture, and these five dimensions of culture that will be helpful in assisting in different cultures. Okay, so whatever form of dimensions that the Happosted has suggested, all these dimensions are differentiating in different type of culture, okay, wherever the uh, different nations, okay, what form of dimensions exist that are primarily governed by using some important parameters that is called as dimension of culture in most of the societies, okay, that these dimensions of cultures that can be universal, okay, and across these many nations that could not change too so far. So therefore, Hapostad has conducted research on employees of 70 countries. So more than 1 lakh employees studies the Hapostad. More than 1 lakh employees were undertaken while conducting this research, and these employees are belonging to nearly 70 countries. Those are belonging to specifically multinational corporations. What Hapostad has done specifically, he scored each country using a scale of roughly 0 to 100 for each dimension. And what is that dimensions would say? Higher the score, more will be the dimensions that exhibited in the society. So Hapostad has created a scale, okay, wherever he has located from 0 to 100, okay. Higher the score of that specific dimension, okay, more will be dimension can be exhibited in the society. Lower the score, okay, lower will be the dimension value, okay, that should be exhibited in that particular society, and that societal members belonging to that different countries would behave in a particular fashion. So let us discuss further. Then we came to know what exactly that Reed Hapostad cultural dimension theory. So he has suggested 5 cultural dimensions. These are the 5 cultural dimensions of Hapostad. Okay, Hapostad talk about power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, okay, and long term orientation. So all these 5 dimensions will differ in the in terms of that particular societies, those who are belonging to the different nations. So more than 1 lakh employees study has been conducted, and finally Hapostad come up with this model, okay. So he has suggested this model Hapostad, and this is called as the cultural dimension of the managerial people, those who are belonging to these multinational enterprises of many different nations, those are working internationally. When we are talking about that socio-cultural studies specifically here, Hapostad has primarily conducted some sort of comparative analysis of the different countries, and then he has projected this model. This model has been conducted, has been analyzed, means many of the countries wherever or even the researcher as well as the authors, the eminent authors, those who are being not believing that culture could not be measured, and we cannot deal with the culture of any of the country very effectively so as to improve the individual organizational performance as well as behavior. So here the Hapostad come up with this 5 dimension and says that, okay, people those who are saying that culture that which cannot be quantified and measured, so Hapostad has suggested this model. So Hapostad has changed this perception of culture and shows that culture is composed of recognizable dimensions and centered on values and relatively stable over time. Now, what does Hapostad says? Whenever that Hapostad initially there was a perception that culture cannot be studied or culture cannot be compared, okay, or that could not be quantified and measured. So by means of using that Happostead theory, Happostead identified that five cultural dimensions, okay, and he says that okay, these components can be recognizable, these can be identified, okay, and these components, okay, these dimensions are centered on some particular socio-cultural value. All these dimensions are related with some socio-cultural value, and that may be stable over a period of time, okay, over a period of time, okay, that particular dimensions would remains constant, okay, but with the gradual improvement or changes, okay, even that dimensions would change in a longer run, okay, after some period of time, but mostly it would remain stable in many of the countries. Now what is that Happostead model that we are going to discuss further? So we would have five dimensions over here, okay, power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, okay, uncertainty avoidance, and long term orientation. This is called as the Happostead five cultural dimensions, okay, and we are going to discuss with this figure. So these five dimensions will would differ from societies to society of the different nations, and what it would say when we are talking about the power distance, okay. Power distance mainly deals with the human inequality, okay. So many of the people, those who are belonging to different countries, they do primarily believe the people, those who are in the specific hierarchies, and we would find out some sort of equality and inequality among the people due to the relationship that exists, okay, in the hierarchies, okay, wherever people are being belonging to that particular hierarchies. So we came to know that okay, it refers to the relationship between high ranking and low ranking individuals that depends on how the latter react to the former. So whenever people, those who are being working in any enterprises, okay, nationally or internationally, in whichever form of nations, okay, they do tries to interact with each other depending on what form of inequality exists, okay, and they do try to behave in a particular fashion with each other. So we came to know that okay, what form of relationship between high ranking and low ranking individuals that exist among them, and similarly how the latter will react to the former, how the low ranking people that they do behave, okay, or they do communicate with the high ranking individuals, those who are belonging to different nations or different societies across many of the nations. So that could be a first dimension of the Happostead. The another form of dimension that is called as individualism versus collectivism, okay. Here in case of individualism, here we are dealing with the human with individual goals. Individual persons, those who are being very keen to their own achieving their own objectives. In many countries, most of the people, okay, that they are believing that individualism, okay, by means of individual, we came to know that there is greater importance on achieving the personal goal or individual goal. Wherever collectivism exists, okay, in some countries, okay, these countries, they are being focusing on group goal or even departmental goals over there. So we do find some sort of team spirit, okay, or team achievement would be valued in these countries. So that is the individualism and collectivism. Then we are talking about the masculinity and femininity. Okay, now that masculinity and femininity would also occur across many of the nations, and that would communicate about the role differentiation, okay, among the different nations. So we do prefer, okay, which particular job activities or performance that could exist, and that should be centered towards the men as well as women in different societies. So here we are talking about the emotional role differentiation, okay, and we tries to know about what form of uh, activities that could be performed by the individual person, and what does it should reflect in that particular society and the nation also. So when we are talking about masculinity, okay, masculinity will represent the performance of the society for achievement, heroism, assertiveness, and for material rewards for success. So males are primarily preferred in the organizations as well as in that particular countries to perform these specific type of job activities, okay, so that they can reflect some particular form of attitude. So mainly it will reflect some sort of achievement, heroism, assertiveness, and to achieve some material rewards in terms of, suppose, say, profit, okay, or the organizational growth over there. Whereas when we are talking about femininity, femininity stands for uh, the they are having some emotional attributes, okay, and it would stand for preference for cooperation, modesty, caring, and emotionalness would be there. So in societies, okay, wherever men and women, those who are working together, so who would be mostly prefer in these different societies so as to achieve the overall organizational objectives, and that could be changed from organization to organization across the many of the nations, and that could be called as masculinity versus femininity. So here we do think about the male female roles primarily, and which roles which can be assigned to men and women in that particular society, that could be believable in that particular society in many of the nations. The next one is called as uncertainty avoidance. Now, this uncertainty avoidance has been related with the level of stress caused by any unknown future. So many of us that has not seen the future related activity. We are living in an uncertain world, okay, and most of the things are unknown to us. So due to which what happened, there is some sort of pressure, okay, exist on the organizational members, and they do behave in some particular fashion due to uh, the this unknown future, okay. So this would be called as some sort of stress on these employees, those who are working in these national international firms across the many nations. Uncertainty avoidance expresses the degree to which the members of the society feel uncomfortable with uncertainty. So, whenever the uncertainty exists, how do people behave in a particular fashion? How do people communicate? Okay, sometimes there will be any some sort of strong believable things. So many in many nations that they do experience some sort of uncertainties, okay, due to uh, uh, haphazard kind of activities that happen within their nations. So there should be some sort of stress and fear towards these particular employees, and they will behave in a particular fashion. So always we will find out that there is some sort of anxiety among the societal members, and that anxieties would be there in these different societies, those are belonging to these different nations. okay, and due to which they would find some particular things, okay, how to handle that unknown future, specifically whenever they are dealing with the decision making activity, whenever we are dealing with uncertainty. So nowadays many organizations they do tries to use lots of information processing systems, okay, and handling the data very efficiently, and tries to overcome the barriers of that unknown future. So lots of pressure would be there on the higher management science, higher management, specifically those are belonging to the top management executives. The last one would be called as long term versus short term orientation. People those who are belonging to that different countries, okay, they do differ in case of people's choice of focus for their action. People are concentrating, okay, what sort of actions that they would likely to perform in the forthcoming ways. So we are talking about long term orientation, okay, when we are very much focused on future, okay. So each and every individual, those who are having their long term goals, okay, so they are focusing on future related activities and protecting themselves from the uncertainties, whereas short term orientation has been focused on present, on the past, and consider more importance than the future. So whatever was exist in the past, okay, so they do try to believe, okay, what was happened exactly with them, okay, rather than concentrating on the future related activity. Now these values would change from nations to nation, okay, as well as from the societies, okay. And what form of long term, either short term goal orientation the individual employee would have in that particular society, they want to achieve and protect their future, as well as to handle the uncertainty, as in case of uncertainty avoidance. So these would be called as the five dimension of Hofstede cultural dimension theory. Now when this research was conducted, okay, Hofstede has identified these five dimensions, whatever that we will see recently, okay. Hofstede shows that national culture can be pursued and measured through these five dimensions, which have implications on the management and performance of the firm. Now, when we are talking about the national culture is the culture within the home country. Okay, always that national culture is creating more impact as compared to the culture of the host country. Remember, when we are talking about these five dimensions would have more impact, okay, due to the national culture that exists within the home country rather than the host country. So therefore some countries, okay, wherever that national culture is having more uh, powerful, okay, wherever we do find out that uh, uniculturalism would exist in that particular country, okay, there would be some sort of implications on the management of the organization as well as performance of the firms. So sometimes that natural culture will create some problems for the individual multinational corporations, because there will be unique culturalism. Say for in India, most of the individuals belonging to the Hindu societies, okay, even in many other counterparts of the world there would find out some uniculturalism, even in suppose say China, okay, and in other countries. These dimensions are said to be universal because they are appear in the fundamental issue with which all societies have to cope up with implications in workplaces. Now, when these type of research has been conducted, Happostead suggested that okay, there would be some different impact on these societies, particularly due to the importance of national culture, okay, and that would have some major impactful um, attack on the individual societies, okay, particularly called as universals, okay. So it would have some major implications on the organization, specifically in the workplaces. So people do behave in a particular fashion only, and mostly the national culture would be more impactful in this case. Happostead definition of culture represented presents the traditional. Now, whenever we are talking about the culture, culture is a combination of social values and the customs and the norms. Okay, it has been defined whatever by that Happostead. Okay, it is a traditional form of socio-cultural values in general. We will call them as a culture, and idea and especially their attached values as essential core of the culture according to Kroeber and Kuchon. Kuchon theory has been there. Okay, we will discuss in the next session. So we do came to know that how does Kuchon has been criticized that particular theory. We will see some points with respect to that Happostead and Kuchon. So that socio-cultural values, okay, would create some impact on the societies, and that five dimensions will remains in this society, and that could vary from nations to nations. Here we came to know that individual race in the society have acquired these components of national culture and implicit values to which they are exposed from the early childhood. Culture is a learned phenomena, and most of these socio-cultural values can be learned from the childhood. And all these values has been deeply rooted since the history, okay, of the mankind, and that could have again more impact on the society. Here, when we are talking about that five cultural dimensions, okay, Happostead calls these components as the part of that mental programming, okay, and that mental programming would influence the individual thinking and actions with other people whenever the individual people requires to communicate with each other, either within the society as well as with other persons, say for example expatriate, those who are belonging to other countries. So it is a sort of mental programming, some sort of chemical reaction goes in the mind, and we do try to either believe or pursue these things and tries to communicate with that particular individual. He further argues about that mental programming, okay, as it says that it is a source of differences in the management practices across the countries. Now here the individual countries and these companies are analyzing, okay, whatever goes in the mind of the individual person by means of analyzing these socio-cultural values, social norms, and other form of parameters, those are belonging to culture. So that creates some sort of differences, okay, on the practices whichever adopted by the these national international firms, okay, across the various countries. Now when we are talking about these different countries, okay, and what form of hypostate dimensions would change from country to country. So we do came to know that Northern America, okay, there will be multiculturalism would be there, okay, and by means of that we are talking about these different socio-cultural dimensions which are suggested by Happostead: individualism versus collectivism, power distance, uncertainty, avoidance would be there, and masculinity and femininity. Now in this multiculturalism, okay, many of the countries or wherever there is a uniculturalism issues would be there. Many countries they tries to promote their socio-cultural values by means of mainly using their belief system in which they were born, particularly the religion. So we do find, suppose say in Northern America, okay, here individual goals are being quite important as compared to Japan. So Japan has been believing the workaholic country, and they do concentrate on the team spirit. Also in case of power distance, okay, there will be low power distance in Northern America, okay, and whereas in case of Japan we came to know sometimes there will be high power distance, as the society has been closely bound by family values. Here in Northern America there is a low power distance. Here also in case of uncertainty avoidance, so many people they do not think that uncertainties would be there, okay, and wherever lots of incidences are happening within the countries, okay, and how does that they are being believing and protecting themselves from the uncertainties. So in Japan we came to know that anytime the earthquake or tsunami will happen, so high uncertainty avoidance would be there, and people are being getting ready for themselves, okay, to perform whatever form of requirements are being supposed to be there. Here there will be a medium form of uncertainty avoidance, so not too much worry about that. In case of masculinity versus femininity, okay, in Northern America men will be primarily perform these organizational activities, okay, wherever in Japan both masculine as well as feminine exist, okay, both men and women are performing different kind of roles in the organizations. Similarly the other countries has been reflected over here, and these five socio-cultural dimensions which are suggested by the Happostead, okay, that could exist among many of the countries. So this research has been having a very great importance specifically in the field of anthropology also, sociology, and in international HRM also. Then impact of culture on HR practices. As we talk about the international HRM, okay, culture is creating some sort of very positive or negative impact on the society. Particularly whenever we are talking about that HRM practices and how that HRM practices would change from culture to culture as well as from nations to nations. So we do find in case of recruitment and selection, training and development, compensation, or some task distribution or allocation. So in societies there will be a low on in-group collectivism, okay, wherever we are talking about promotion of the group goals, achievement of the group goals. Individual achievement represent important selection criteria, okay. In certain countries sometimes, okay, individual achievement will be more important, whereas in case of certain societies, okay, high on in group in collectivism, okay, they are emphasizing in recruiting the process is more on team related skills, okay, than on individual competencies. So in some countries, okay, individual goals are important, okay, individual achievements are very very necessary, whereas in some countries, okay, some group achievement has been primarily preferred. So team related skills has been importance, okay, rather than the individual competencies. Training and development. Now in case of training and development, wherever we are talking about societies, with high on gender egalitarianism, women have some chance for vertical career advancement as men. So wherever there is no discrimination in between the societies with respect to men and women, okay, male or female, so we do find out that the whatever will be the gender roles, okay, so particularly wherever masculinity and the femininity exist, okay, both, okay, and there is the equality approach would be there, wherever women will find more career job opportunities as compared to men. In societies wherever there is a low gender egalitarianism, female managers are rare, okay, so in certain countries there will be difficulty with respect to that gender norms, and women could not find the space particularly in the higher rankings of the jobs. In case of compensation, okay, societies with high or uncertainty avoidance, employees tend to be rather risk averse and prefer fixed compensation packages or seniority based pay. So they where there is uncertainty, okay, people those who are having the uncertainty avoidance would be there. Here we do require some special forms of expertise, and that expertise need to be compensated with some high packages, and in that case, okay, many senior experts, okay, or industry specialists, okay, they will be provided with higher packages, okay, in certain countries. Societies with low on uncertainty avoidances, employees tend to be rather risk taking and accepting the high income variability through performance based pay. So in countries wherever there is no such kind of uncertainties exist, so they do perform their routine activities, okay, sometimes there would be a risk taking activity so as to go ahead in the individual performances, okay, wherever they would get higher income jobs also, okay, so as to improve the overall organizational performance, and sometimes there will be higher performance based pay would be paid by the organizations to them, okay, but that could be vary from country to country. In case of task distribution, okay, societies high on collectivism tend to emphasize the group work, okay, here individual countries, okay, those who are believing the group norms, okay, and group achievement, okay, wherever team spirit will be a motto, so in that case society will prefer, wherever society is higher on individualism, rather attribute individual responsibilities in the work system. Countries uh, those are being primarily not called as collectivism, or those are being primarily looking for to achieve the individual goals or individual achievement, so they would be share with some individual task and responsibilities to them. So in this way, in case of international HRM specifically, okay, that would create an impact on specifically these HR practices. So that's all about our today's session. Thank you.